Now, from schoolwork to sending emails, an increasing number of young people here in the UK are using artificial intelligence to help complete everyday tasks.
A recent study shows 53% of those aged 8 to 25 who were surveyed have used AI chatbots such as Chat GPT, while 54% admitted they are concerned about the impact AI could have on their jobs in the future.
So, should school kids basically just be stopped from using AI? Can they be stopped from using AI? Or would it be better to teach them to kind of use it more effectively and, if you like, more honestly? Well, the Senior Lecturer at the University of Manchester, Jenni Rose, says that AI can be a proper teaching tool and not a cheating tool. But the chairman of the Campaign for Real Education, Chris McGovern, says that our kids are going to get addicted to this and fast. So, Chris, let's start with you. What's your worst-case scenario here? What's your nightmare vision of what could happen once AI really takes off?
Well, artificial intelligence and via smartphones is a bit like educational cocaine. It's very addictive. I mean, I could say it's more like educational heroin because it's deadly, but also has a good side, just as heroin does, as morphine. It's a painkiller. So the concerns we have, it becomes too addictive. And we know from the research of brain scientists that if you photograph the brains of young people, they are physically changing because of the impact of the new technology. So we're going into unknown territory. Stephen Hawking, the famous professor at Cambridge, said this is possibly marking the change in humanity. They put it in those terms. So AI has some benefits, of course, some tremendous benefits, but it is misused and will be used for cheating, of course. So there are ways to circumvent that.
But how do you stop kids from using it? You're saying that they should be banned from using it, full stop. What's to stop them the moment they've left the classroom and they're on the bus home, whatever, simply accessing it on their phone?
No, I wouldn't. No, Richard, I wouldn't ban it totally. You can't ban it totally. It has some good effects. I mean, it can be used, of course, as part of a research project. The danger is that it comes into exams and children are using it to get around honest assessment. The way to circumvent that, of course, is to give children a pen and a piece of paper and put them in a room and ask them to do their exams in those conditions. Then you can't use AI. So there's a sense about the integrity of assessment. As a research, we're not Luddites. As a research tool, AI can be useful, but we don't know for sure where it's taking us. When I was a head teacher in North London, we allowed children to bring smartphones as far as the school office, and that was it. It can interfere a great deal, and also, of course, it leads to bullying. Look, we can produce an AI program to represent you on Good Morning Britain and so forth, and so therefore we can simulate things. It can be quite dangerous. So I think we need to teach children moral values as well, but some children will always manipulate the system. Yeah. So we have to be very cautious about the use of AI. As I said, it's educational cocaine for some children.
Well, yeah, it's interesting you say. I mean, how do you even know it's us?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I can say that I'm definitely not AI. But Jenni Rose, what is the technology that we need to look at? For instance, coursework. If you're not in an exam with paper and a pen, you're doing coursework, and just popping it into Chat GPT, how does any examiner, you're a lecturer at a university, how can you tell?
I think it is very hard to tell, but I think what we need to do is make sure we're teaching students to use AI in a responsible way, trying to teach it so they teach themselves to improve their own work. So the way I use it is to get students to self-evaluate. So I ask them to compare what they've written to what ChatGPT will produce, and doing that critical analysis makes them realise what they can do that ChatGPT can't, and it explores that ability to create inner feedback for themselves so they can start to self-evaluate. And that's what I've been researching with David Nichol about how we can get students to use these kind of outputs from chatbots to compare their own work to and actually improve their work, rather than trying to go down the route of passing that work off as their own. It's using ChatGPT to improve.
Yeah, but how do you get them to do that consistently? Because I know if I take myself back to a 15-year-old teenager and I'm late doing my geography homework, I've kept putting it off, and it's due in tomorrow and it's 8 o'clock at night, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go onto AI and I'm going to get it to do the work for me. I am. That's what's going to happen.
Richard Madeley.
Well, it's true.
Oh, the girly swat in me is appalled.
But so how do you...
I'm appalled too, but I do know that it happens.
So how do you encourage kids to do it consistently?
I think you need a a transparent and open conversation about this. When I show the Chat GPT response to my essays that I set, the students are shocked that I even know about it. So I think making sure students know that we're aware of it as educators, and also pointing out the flaws and the problems. Chat GPT's own strapline says that you need to check the information in it. And I think if you can demonstrate to children and to students that when you look at what chatbots have produced, it's often not factual, it's often not correct, and it perpetuates bias and discrimination. So it's making sure that they can use it as a tool, but can see the flaws that are there all the way through in terms of factual accuracy and actually the kind of contextual knowledge that only a teacher can provide can be needed in their work.
Rose,
not just
I think
work
you
that
have a very optimistic view of children using this technology, and I applaud your attempt to make it obvious to them what the limits of these AI technologies are. But you've still got 15-year-old Richard Madeley who's heard all that and said, I know, but it's 8 o'clock and I've got to get this homework in. And my point remains, if he then does his essay through Chat GPT and submits it and says, I looked at how it was different from what I originally did and I've worked out all these differences, still, how do you know that's not AI? How can you work that out?
I think we need to change the way that we're setting the assessments so that they become more unique and more focused, and that we're emphasising to children and students how important it is to get their own viewpoint, to bring their own unique human viewpoint to an assignment, to a situation, that we want to know what they think. It can be backed up by different sources of evidence. They need to consider all that different evidence and be able to evaluate it qualitatively. But we need to put faith in our children that we want to hear what they are saying. Right. We're not interested in what ChatGPT. We want their genuine human, unique response.
Let's come back to Chris. Chris, it's November 2023. How close to the edge are we, do you think, if we don't take the kind of steps that you're suggesting? How close to disaster in your view?
I think probably within 5 years. It's very close is the answer. Look, I admire what Jenni's attitude is, but of course, in reality, children cheat, as we all do to some extent, all the time. And therefore, it's not reliable to rely on AI. We do need to put severe restrictions on it. And one of the problems with AI, of course, is that it removes the need to do handwriting, for example. You talk to the machine writes for you. Yeah. And therefore, even if you go into an examination hall and you have a paper and pencil exam, if your child can't write because they've been de-skilled by AI, that's a deficiency. AI should enhance the human condition, not de-skill us. There are real problems, and we're only talking here at a very mundane level, which is this classroom. International level and in terms of armaments and so forth, there are very real dangers in AI, and they're not going to be controlled. We have to teach children about the dangers of AI, but we mustn't rely on all children being prepared to follow the right example. I mean, like Richard, like everybody, I suppose, we're all susceptible to doing the wrong thing if we've got the sufficient incentive to do so. So we're very close to the edge. Schools need to become more responsible, and I think government and the Department for Education needs to take more responsibility and give some leadership in this, because it is a very real problem. Thank goodness you're covering it on television this morning. And
we're just covering one aspect of the threat, the potential threat of AI. You quoted Professor Stephen Hawking. I've read the same chapter in the same book that you were clearly quoting from, and it is very depressing. And he, although he wasn't predicting certain doom, it wasn't far off.
Did you really read it though, Richard, or did you get an AI summary?
It's called 10 what's it called? 10 brief answers to 10 important questions.
I have to admit, I did use Cliff's notes. Thank you both very much indeed. There's a roundtable event led by the Culture Secretary Lucy Fraser today, looking at how AI is impacting creative industries, because of course you can now have AI pictures, video, music, singles in the charts. Would you read, for instance, I was going to ask, Chris and Jenni, would you read... have we lost them?
Well, I was going to say...
would you read an AI novel? You're a novelist, right?
If I knew that it was an AI novel, out of journalistic curiosity, yes. But in terms of my love of reading, no. I would feel that I was reading something like eating synthetic food.
Yes.
Got to tell you something.
Yeah.
About a year ago, just as an exercise, and we were very open about this, I got AI to write one of my agony uncle letters. I do an agony page, as you know, for the Telegraph.
I do. I read it. Love it.
And I got AI to answer one of the letters, and I was upfront about it. It was damn convincing.
There we go.
I think the only difference between it and the kind of reply that I would write was that it was very much on the one hand and on the other. It didn't come down with a personalised view.
Whereas you definitely
Whereas I will always take
have advice.
an attitude. Yeah, exactly.